So my name, the guy that's waving right now, my name's Harry Rock, and I am the president of the Westfield 350, and we are the volunteer committee that's planning the celebration of the 350th birthday of our city of Westfield here in the United States. And sitting to my left is our good mayor, Mayor Brian Sullivan of the city. And we are just ecstatic about having an opportunity to chat with you and learn a little bit about each other's community. And the man behind the board that's pulling all this together, his name is Pete Coles. He's our tech guru here for the city of Westfield, and we are very appreciative of all of his efforts to make this happen.
Yeah, my name's Jeff Fuller. I'm the chairman of Westfield Parish Council. And the chap beside me here is the vice chairman. The vice chairman of the parish council is Ron Hopkins.
Great. Nice to meet you both.
It's okay. We one of the things we need to understand about each other is the relative size of the two conurbations, if you like. And it's an unusual situation in that although Westfield has history spanning back theoretically to the Roman times, as a current urban development, Westfield is right to Westfield, Massachusetts, and that's a reversal of the normal situation with the states.
Say that again. I didn't quite follow that. This is where I love it. This is where we're speaking English, but we aren't necessarily communicating.
Okay. We have a reversal of situations here in that normally when the UK deals with the states and populations, we're talking about much more recent history than in the UK.
Oh, right.
Yeah, although Westfield's history goes back to the Romans, not as Westfield, but as a community. In this case, Westfield, Massachusetts, is a much older.
I see.
Urban development than Westfield.
Oh, that's interesting. So when were you actually formed as I understand you're a parish. Is that how you term it?
Yeah, Westfield Parish Council, or Westfield Parish, was formed in 2011, and this was after a split of a bigger council in the area, and we became on our own parish in 2011. Very much so.
Don't for 1 minute get the impression that it's a 6-year-old a 6-year-old sort of urban development. I mean, Westfield in itself goes back several hundred years and has a considerable mining and industrial heritage, surprisingly in-depth industrial and mining heritage. And it goes back 250 years, Joe?
Yeah, further than that, no.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Notes.
I mean, there are lots of little details while Jeff's looking up his notes. For example, Westfield as a village with an industrial heritage, for one stage, for about 3 months, was considered to be the largest car tires in the world, based in Westfield. And that sounds strange. Well, we're talking in the 1900s. So, yeah.
Well, we're similar over here too. Westfield, Massachusetts, obviously, is 350 years old. We're known as the Whip City, and that is because of the whip manufacturing that happened over here at the beginning of time. But we're also known for many other industrial products. Bicycles is another one. Columbia Bicycle has been a long time manufacturer here in town, and we're a population of 43,000 people. So we're a city in regards to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and we have our own airport, and we have our own river, and we have our own hospital and things like that that make us quite unique over here.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about, it is a big area. I know. I actually have been to Westfield in passing, but if you want, the history of Westfield goes back to the Romans. So we're talking, potentially 1800 to 2000 years ago, and we're on a major road which links north south in Great Britain called the Fosse Way. It was the Romans' version of the superhighway, I suppose, in those days, and the population, the properties were developed along the road structure between two smaller towns. In England, we have the wonderful expression "ribbon development," but in fact, it's expanded much more than that over the last 6.
Yeah, just as that you said that your community exists of population-wise of so many thousand. Ours is dwarfed by that. It's about 6,500, 2,500 households. So we're well below your capacity, and we've got no airport. We've got plenty of runways, but no airport.
How large is the physical landmass of Westfield?
I would say you're talking 2.5. What would that be in kilometers?
It's America. So
yeah,
miles.
yeah, miles. Oh,
It's
miles.
real. It's
we're
real
miles.
units in America.
Okay, well, it's about three miles long and possibly a mile wide.
Okay.
The actual parish itself.
So I always thought that we were the second largest, but I'm learning that I believe we're now the third largest city
land.
in Massachusetts. We're 47 square miles. Plymouth and Boston are the
Boston
two larger,
proper, I believe.
right, two larger communities. So we are, to put you in perspective, you're probably aware where Boston is on the coast. So if you were, Massachusetts is kind of like a big a rectangle with a long crooked arm that comes off it, which creates Cape Cod. We are at the western end of the big rectangle. We're about, I'd safely say 2 hours from Boston, depending on traffic. Sometimes you can make it a little bit quicker, a little bit longer, but we're right on the Connecticut River, which comes out of Canada and splits both Vermont and New Hampshire. And we are on the edge of what we refer to as the Berkshire Hills, which become the Berkshire Mountains. They're the part of the Appalachian chain that runs from Georgia all the way up to Maine, if you've ever heard of them. But we are, our community was started originally, we were the westernmost community of Massachusetts, and founded, it was originally just a trading post with the Native Americans here. A lot of beaver pelts was obviously the popular trade at the time, following the custom and the popularity of the beaver hats in England. And we were just a trading post, and at that time we were known as Warnoke, which is basically named after the local Indian tribe that was here. And then we became known as Streamfield. We have a major river that comes through, the Westfield River, and a couple of other smaller streams, one called the Little River, and a lot of smaller streams and creeks. And then in 1669, we were founded formally as the town of Westfield, with the understanding that in order to keep our charter, we had to find a minister to come here to form a church. And they had 2 years to do that. And I think about within the month of the 12th of the 24th month, I think, right up to the end,
Close.
they finally found a minister in the dead of winter in Boston, and they walked back in a major snowstorm. And thus Westfield was formed. We celebrated our 250th anniversary in 1919, and that's when we were reorganized and chartered as a city at that point. So we left being a town to a city. But Westfield's roots, we were really an agricultural community, farming, many dairy farms around the community. We had a major canal that came up from New Haven on Long Island Sound in the 1800s, and that's how they were moving commerce up and down on the canal. And then the railroad came. I think the canal only lasted about 11 years or so, fairly short, and then the railroad came. But we became very industrialized. As the mayor just mentioned, we were the major producer of buggy whips in the world. I think we made 95% of all the buggy whips in the world. Bicycles, we got into industry. We had a major foundry for big furnaces and boilers. What else did we have?
Those are the top three, anyways. Right. Yeah. We actually, Savage Arms is located here, which is a manufacturer of guns, and military was big on product back then too, for defense purposes, and that still is a large industry today. A lot of small manufacturing companies that make pieces for aerospace and technology are what carrying us today, though. So we've evolved.
Is there some geographic reason or some resource?
We are located close to the Mass Turnpike, which, so, transportation and logistics is probably one of the biggest things about Westfield, is we're centrally located for, delivery of manufacturing items. So that's one of it. The other is that we are close to Hartford's airport, and they have a large aerospace manufacturing group down there that we do the small pieces that add to the larger end product. So we're a little bit outside of Connecticut. So that drove an awful lot of the smaller companies to stay here. Yeah.
And I think originally, I would guess that this is the same situation in England, because we had a major river coming through. That was a way to move, before the roadways came in and stuff.
Yep.
Certainly the Native Americans were moving everything through on canoes, as we refer to them here, and then we had our own boats, and just moving commerce through the waterways, and then using the river as a source of power. I know that some of the smaller streams on other parts of Westfield certainly had water turbine systems, water wheels and stuff, and I'm guessing that they must have had them on the Little River, Brian, and probably on the Westfield as well.
Sure. Into the Connecticut.
Yeah, and the paper industry was very big in the 1800s here as well. Again, using the rivers as a source of power and
going back on what you were saying about where Westfield was formed, Westfield here, very much the same as plenty of agricultural use in the area, but the biggest main of was coal mining, and we had one of the biggest coal mining fields in the whole of England at one time.
Wow.
And Westfield was actually formed due to a big manor house right at the bottom end of Westfield, that is Westfield now, that as you looked out the windows, that was on your west side, so they called it the Westfield. And then you had your South Fields, which is another part of the area, but that's how it was named. And we had a lot of the printing works came later, such as your Pernod's, your Mardens, and your standard checks. And then you also had Clark's manufacturing shoes after the pits were shut in 1973. So we had a lot of industry in and around that area at that time.
How does government work for you? I know you sound like the chair and the vice chair or something, but is that, in our world, would that be the mayor and the
yes,
that type of a situation?
Yeah. You should know that in England, obviously, you have central government, with all that's going on in England at the moment, in UK at the moment, with central government. That's devolved down to urban regions. That would be the major cities, for example. And our area is known as Bath and North East Somerset. That is a centre. That is a centre of governmental expertise. Then the next thing down is the community, our community government, which is literally local government, and it has a significant role to play in the management of the area we live in, education, security, policing, and that kind of thing. So it's a significant local government involvement. Yeah, but parish is a charming old English expression for really very local government. Yeah. No, little government. Yeah.
As we are England, but then the Commonwealth itself has a governor and senators and representatives on the state level, and then it goes down to the city level, which is what I am and what we do here. So it sounds pretty similar.
And you're elected.
It is, but the mayor in America is much more significant than it is in the UK.
Okay.
Much in England, the mayor wears a gold chain and is very much a symbolic figure that's wheeled out for ceremonies. Whereas I know in the States, as I said, I've done a lot of work in the States, you have much more of a managerial position.
Yeah, I get wheeled out sometimes too, but that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, the important thing is that as parish councillors, we're elected by the population, but we're not paid. So we do everything out of the kindness of our heart, as we say here.
God love you. That's...
How long is your term of office?
It's 4 years term of office. The actual every year you can nominate the chairman, and I just seem to be getting in the way all the time.
That's true.
I've been the chairman now for the past 5 out of 7 years, so I don't know whether it's my good looks or just the way I am. I don't know.
Does he remind you of Joe Didi at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
We don't know who Joe Didi is, but we know this guy's a real danger.
He's a select person in the town of Southwick next door. He reminds me exactly of him.
You're listening to Pete Coles, our engineer, who's sitting behind the screen here.
So we're celebrating first night on December 31st for the first time ever in Westfield. And one of the things that Harry has put together is this conversation with you people that we're going to show the residents of Westfield, Mass. So at 12 o'clock, we'll be at 12 o'clock your time, 7 o'clock our time. We'll be showing this and having a conversation, and everyone that has found out about it is really interested because of the connection that we've now made and the the similarities and things like that, and the differences in our town and in our parish to start the celebration of our entire year worth of 350 years old here in Westfield, Massachusetts. So it's really cool for me to be sitting as mayor to have this all happening, but to even now bring in England as a piece of it is really unique. So I really appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to kind of help us celebrate our night.
And they say, well, it's more or less the same for ourselves, but like we would like to wish Westfield, Massachusetts, happy birthday, and that's from the people of Somerset, Westfield, Somerset, England, on their 350th birthday.
Well, we appreciate that, and I think right now, fast forward, we'll be cheering as you're saying that. Everybody will be really excited about the fact that we've made this connection. Nobody thought of this before Harry did and said, there must be a Westfield, England, because we were under English rule prior to Westfield, Massachusetts becoming forming as itself. So obviously there is that connection to your country anyways. There
is actually quite a significant English or UK wasn't in UK then. English involvement in the development of Westfield, wasn't it? A lot of the land was purchased by incomers. So the history is good, and it's tremendous. Can I ask while we're with you, have you been in touch with any other Westfields around the world?
I honestly hadn't thought to look to see if there were any other Westfields anywhere else. The connection and the reason we looked at England was the fact that obviously in 1669 we were under British rule, and that's what got me thinking about it, because so many of our names came from England, although I don't think that our name here had a direct connection to England. I think it was just the Westfields of Springfield, which is the town right next to us on the Connecticut River. But that's where this whole thought came from. And so I thought that it would be fun for our children to celebrate their New Year's at 7 o'clock. And because there's a 5-hour time difference, it would be midnight in England. Therefore, our kids could feel like they were actually celebrating their New Year's just from another country, which obviously has had a strong connection with the United States. So that's where this whole idea came from. But we were really excited to follow up on it. And I have been to Bath several times, so I'm familiar with that area. And you're just about 10 miles south of there. I was reading in one of my notes.
Yep, that's correct. Yes, that's about right. 8 to 10 miles.
Yeah. What is your weather there right now?
Overcast, cloudy, gloomy. Not very
typical.
Well, actually, the weather is pretty much what we'd expect of this time of year. There's nothing exceptional happening at the moment. Some of the gurus would tell us that things are changing, but not that rapidly, I don't think. So,
right.
But we certainly, I'd like to join with what Jeff said, and to wish you the most profoundly wonderful birthday of your town, your city, and wish you all a happy New Year, as we say here in the UK. And we got some turmoil in our political scene here, and I hope you can sit back and smile and settle back a little bit and to see how the old country does it wrong.
Well, we trust you'll work those things out. You have a knack for doing that, so I'm sure you'll land on your feet. Last question before we go. You mentioned you had been in Westfield, Mass. Were you traveling anything specific when you were out here?
Yeah, I ran a business in the helicopter handling area, and there were two significant helicopter, one a charterer, one a servicing organization in the airport near you, and they use our equipment. They used to use our equipment. They probably still do, actually, thinking about it. But so the whole of the states. In fact, at one stage, I was thinking of buying a house in Maine.
Oh, wow!
Nice.
I spent so much time here that it seemed the logical thing to do, but in the end, we didn't. And most of my business, of course, was done in Chesapeake Bay. So with the United States Air Navigation, the Navy Air leg in Chesapeake Bay. All very good times. We had some great times there.
Yeah, we call those the Middle Atlantic states down that way.
Indeed. Yeah.
Right. Well, I want to thank you, both of you, Jeff and Ron, for coming on the air with us today and taking time out of your day to make this happen. We were very, very excited about the opportunity to make a connection to Westfield, England, and just kind of make our celebration a little bit more special by having a connection to the mother country, so to speak, from 1669. And we certainly also, on behalf of Mayor Brian Sullivan and Pete Coles, the man behind the board, and myself, Harry Rock, we want to wish you and your community a wonderful 2019, a happy new year. And if we ever get over to England, we'll make sure we stop in
That's right.
to see you.
Please do.
And we would
We'd love to
offer
see you.
you
We'd love
a
to see you.
warm invitation that if you're ever in Massachusetts, to make a side trip and see the Westfield on this side of the pond.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
Happy
you.
New
And thank
Year.
you very much.
Thank
and
you.
happy New
Thank
Year.
you so
Happy New
much.
Year.
Thanking you.